Okay, this afternoon we've chosen to do an interview for the Diocese of Harrisburg's 150th anniversary. My wife Judy and I had volunteered to be the archivist for Immaculate Heart of Mary Parish in Abbottstown. Father Marco, the pastor, had suggested that one of the persons that we interview would be Frank Schuhart. Frank is a longtime member of the parish and is considered a valuable source of information. One of the reasons interviewing Frank struck me as being particularly intriguing is that one of the stories we heard is that he was born in the rectory. I've never heard of anybody who's born in the rectory. So Frank, could you clear that up for me?
It was my sister that was born in the rectory.
Okay.
I was born in York. My father was hired for the farm at Paradise in the mid-30s.
Okay.
So I was been a lifetime member of the parish for practically 78 years.
Okay.
No, pardon me, 88 years. My dad farmed the farm, and he also was a custodian at that time for the church.
Okay. I
can remember in Sunday mornings, Saturdays also, he would use a pump outside the farmhouse to pump water over to the boiler in the church and start the fire up so there'd be some heat for the mass. I went to school at Paradise School, which was right above the church.
Mm-hmm.
The Sisters of St. Joseph's were the nuns that were in charge up there. The priests that were there at the time also had charge of the farm.
Okay.
And there was quite a number of priests that I remember,
mm-hmm.
up until Tom Koselak took over to the school, which they changed programs from an orphanage to juvenile delinquents.
Okay, if I can interrupt just for a second, for the audience's benefit. It's my understanding that originally where the church is now was a farm that ultimately was donated to the church.
Right.
And it has, over your lifetime, has had at least 2 buildings that were the rectories at the different times. One church building, which has been renovated at least once. A working farm, also, I believe. And I believe Paradise School was part of it, part of the land.
Of the complex, yeah.
Okay.
It was under the Diocese of Harrisburg.
Right.
Getting back to the farm, we raised a lot of vegetables, and my dad would put the stuff out. And at that time, the boys that were at the school, orphanage, could come out and work on the farm also, like picking up the potatoes, picking the sweet corn, helping harvest the peas, which we take to a vinery. I can remember Father Burke, one of the priests. He would be out in the field with everybody and sort of prod them along, make sure they were doing the work. The priests at that time, up until Father Roberts, had the parish and was responsible for the school.
Okay.
After Father Roberts, Tom Koselak was in charge, and from then on there was other lay people that were head of the school up there. When I was old enough to help on the farm, I would help my dad. We had milk cows, pigs, steers, and of course he'd take care of all the field work. We would pick this up and take to the cannery, have the boys help. The church, I remember, we did some renovation. I can't remember the exact dates, but the contractor would come in and we take care of the renovation of the church. My dad and I helped take down the ceiling, which was an oval shape original, and the new one was put flat. And I mixed all the mud for it.
Yeah, I'm curious, when you say mud, is that plaster?
I had plaster for the ceiling.
Okay.
And
was that the what I believe is the first church building? It was built in 1845, and then around 1970.
Part of the original, that's right.
Okay, 72 or so, there was a renovation. Okay.
Right. And then, well, later on, in the early 40s, there was a bad storm came through and then it damaged the roof and the tower, the bell tower.
Right.
And at that time, well, the war was going on, so the work all stopped, and it sat there for 8 or 9 years before they really started back up to finish it. Mass at that time was taken up to the Paradise School. Mass was held in the auditorium. On the stage there was an altar built, and bingos were carried off up there too, and all the parish activities were handled up there at the school.
Okay.
And at that period of time, I was in the service. The Navy, by the way.
Go Navy.
Yeah, Navy. So after the service over, I went to work for full-time at the school, at the farm. And my dad would take care of the steers and the cattle, and I had charge of the pigs. And we raised them and sold them. I mentioned before that they said something that I was born in the rectory. When I was not born in the rectory, I was born in New York. My sister was born in the rectory, which was the farmhouse at that time.
Okay.
The rectory was across the other side of the cemetery. But most of the cemetery, the grave digging in the cemetery was done by my father. And after he couldn't do much of it anymore, I dug a good many of the graves. And then after that, they would get the machinery in to dig the graves. And I would sort of take care of it after they backfilled and everything, and put the grass seed and stuff on it. Do you have any questions?
I think that's been quite informative. I think that's very good. Thank you, Frank. We really appreciate you letting us interview today.